Hi everyone, this is Jean from Happy Indulgence and I'm here to recap the 12 books that I read during May. In May, I had quite a lot of 5-star reads and a lot of average reads as well. As always, I'll talk about the books that I love the most down to the books that I like the least. All of the titles and the authors are down below just in case you didn't catch it. So my first favourite of the month is Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. This I gave 5 stars and I loved it so much. It was just so much fun with the magic systems. Safi and Isolde were such great sisters to each other and they had a great bond, and there was just so much really fun banter in here. And I love the relationship between Prince Merrick and Safi. It was really antagonistic and oh gosh, it all ramps up towards the end and there's so much action. I can't wait for Windwitch. I really recommend you to check this out. It just felt like a Jean kind of book. The next book that I loved was Forbidden by Kimberley Griffiths Little, and guys, this is a desert read that I've been waiting for. So there's lots of camels, trading, there's tribal culture and also praying at the temple. I just love Jaclyn and how it was quite feminist at the time because she wanted to run away from marrying the prince of the tribe, which is called Horeb, or also horrible. You know, all the things get thrown at Jaclyn, all the bad things happen to her family, but she just goes on. And it was really heartbreaking seeing that journey happen, but she really evolves into a really strong character. And I just love the setting, and if you like camels, you'll like this one too. So I've been binge reading series over the past few months. The one that I binge read this month was the Colours of Madeline series by Jaclyn Moriarty. And this is a Aussie YA series. It's just really whimsical and quirky. It's a bit Alice in Wonderland-ish, how there's a world behind the modern world it's called the Kingdom of Cello, and it's just, you've got all these really quirky characters, you've got the royal family, and then you've got Madeline who can communicate to Elliot, who is a farm boy. And I love how there were threads of science in here. You know, Madeline really likes Isaac Newton and physics, and she sort of relates back to that when she gets nervous. They both relate to each other because they've both lost their parents in one way or another. And throughout the course of the series, it just gets better and better. And then you hear about, you know, the quirky royal family in the Kingdom of Cello. And everything sort of ramps up and it wraps up beautifully in the Tangle of Gold. Look how beautiful the cover is. And these are the rest of the covers. But oh, I just thought it was such a fun series and it was really refreshing. I haven't read anything that meshes a modern and fantasy world as well as this one did. And just all the characters were really charming. And you know, by the time you hit the end of the series, when everything wraps up so nicely and it leaves you with a warm, fuzzy feeling, that was a Tangle of Gold. So the Colours of Madeline series, it starts with a corner of white, the cracks in the kingdom, and the tangle of gold, and I hope you guys can pick it up. I gave all of these books between 4.5 stars to 5 stars. The next book I gave 4.5 stars to is Summer Skin by Kirsty Eagar. And I think this is a great feminist read for young modern women, especially if you're entering college or university. It addresses college culture between, you know, males all in a sporting club and the females, and how, you know, each other can do things to each other and then there'll be double standards. And I love Jess and how she stood up for herself. She wouldn't let Mitch say sexist remarks to her without getting away with it. And the interesting thing in this book is that it addresses a lot of modern day feminism, such as standing up for yourself, not letting anyone step all over you, recognizing the signs of an abusive relationship, and also being a self-respecting young woman who can enjoy sex. I would like to see more books like this set in the college setting that isn't just about sex, although there are some pretty hot scenes in here. I thought it was a really important read that addressed issues that we see today. So that's Summer Skin, and another Aussie YA read. Down to 4 stars is My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. It's sort of like All the Bright Places, where there were 2 individuals who bonded over suicide, and this one was actually quite controversial because Isol is really depressed and she goes online to find a suicide partner, and of course she finds Roman. Roman pretty much has his mind set on a date, so Isol goes along with him, and along the course of the book it's just so beautiful how they relate to each other. You know, they're depressed, but then you sort of see how they start to smile around each other and they start to care for each other instead of focusing on their own issues. And it felt really authentic with the way it dealt with depression and grief. You know, there doesn't always need to be a reason why someone's depressed. And it was addressed really beautifully in this book. It also made me cry at the end of it. It just really pulls at the heartstrings. So if you loved All the Bright Places, if you love mental illness reads, and if you loved The Fault in Our Stars, I think you'll enjoy this book. Another book I read is This Is Where the World Ends by Amy Zhang. I gave this 3.5 stars. I didn't know how I was going to go with this book because I have read Amy Zhang's first book, Falling Into Place, and I didn't do too well with that one because the character was so unlikable. But the thing about Amy Zhang is that she writes unlikable characters and then makes them really relatable and turns them on their head, and then you're like, hang on, why am I liking this character who does terrible things? So that's pretty much the same concept here, except there was an underlying mystery here. There's Janie and Micah and their childhood friends. It reminded me a lot of the couple in Paper Towns. So she's pretty much a manic pixie dream girl. Micah, on the other hand, is in love with her and would do anything for her. But the interesting thing is that it's told between the past and the present. Past is from Janie's point of view, and you see just how twisted she is and how she just has 2 guys wrapped around her little finger and the whole school, and then keeps on telling Micah that she's his soulmate, and they basically have a really toxic friendship. Micah wakes up in the present and he's wondering what happened to Janie, and no one will tell him. So while you're reading the book, you're sort of putting the pieces together, wondering what happened to Janie, wondering what happened to Micah, and then there's also the really unreliable narrator as well, because Micah has gaps in his memory. So I love books that have toxic friendships, that are psychological thrillers that you can't expect, which is why I really enjoyed This Is Where the World Ends. See how you go with it, and I personally really enjoyed it. The Winner's Kiss by Rutkoski is something that I was really looking forward to because I love this series. It's the Winner's Trilogy. I really love the Winner's Curse that it started off with. The Winner's Kiss, unfortunately, I didn't enjoy as much as I thought I would. Basically, it uses the amnesia angle to conveniently forget about all the transgressions that Kestrel and Aaron had in the past, and all of a sudden, as she recovers her memory, of course she would recognize her feelings for him again. I thought this amnesia angle dragged out the whole story from start to finish. It was a bit cliche with how it all happened, and I wanted to know more about the impending war. So that was a bit frustrating, but it does end really beautifully with a happy ending, and I'm glad that I read this trilogy, but I still think The Winner's Curse was the best book out of the trilogy. And I ended up giving this one 3 stars. Court of Mist and Fury. Unfortunately, I gave this one 3 stars. It actually caused quite a bit of controversy because I posted on my blog 5 reasons why I didn't enjoy this book. It's really weird because I absolutely loved A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I love Sarah J. Maas. She's my favorite author. This one, I just felt so disturbed by a lot of things that were happening in the book. I thought Feyre was really dumb and she was really frustrating. She pretty much ran away from her problems, and she was a special snowflake that kept on going on about how special she was. I found the relationships in here between both Tamlin and Rhysand abusive, and I didn't like the way they treated her as well. I just got really frustrated because you know what happens to Chaol in Queen of Shadows? This happens to Tamlin, so if you like Tamlin in the first book, you won't like what happens to him in this book. He's pretty much villainized and there's no coming back from ever liking his character. And then Royston on the other hand is completely perfect. I was a bit frustrated while reading it because I felt like my emotions were intentionally manipulated with. It's just a shame because I really liked every single one of her other books. So I gave this one 3 stars. If you want to know more, check out the blog for further details. I also got Wink Poppy Midnight from the library. It's a bit of a thriller told from 3 different point of views. I don't think any of the characters were likable, but the underlying mystery here kept me reading. It's told from 3 different point of views, but by the end of the book I found it was pretty pointless because I just couldn't get it together what the whole reasoning was. One of the characters here, Wink, she's psychologically damaged and she refers to everyone as fairy tale characters, and it's up to you to put the pieces together. They get back at the perfect Poppy and they have revenge against her, and then I thought Midnight was doormat that would go along with anything that these girls would say, and it was frustrating as I was reading it. Now that I look back at it, maybe it wouldn't be a 3-star read, but I thought it was really interesting. Now the last book I read is The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. I gave this 3 stars as well. Everyone else seemed to love it. So this is a historical Alaskan read about all these different characters that grow up in Alaska. Fishing's important, looking for food's important. None of the characters here seem to be that well off except for one of them. The thing about The Smell of Other People's Houses is it felt really warm and cozy with that small town feel, but it went through so many different characters that I would get attached to one and then you wouldn't have them come around into the storyline until later on, and it just felt frustrating. It's a bit like Game of Thrones all over again. So if you like historical fiction, I recommend checking this out. If you don't like different point of views, maybe not. So these are all the books that I read during May. It was a really productive reading month and I hope you find a new favourite. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll be with you guys next month. Bye!